Hello and welcome to another Project Life process video. Today I am going to be scrapbooking a bunch of photos and all of the ones that I'm setting out right now are from my younger daughter's grade 9 graduation, both the ceremony and also the dance that they had that evening. And this is part of week 25, but week 25 photos, like the non-prom week 25 photos, are actually not going to be included in this spread. I'm going to create a little insert actually, so that my first thought was that I would make an insert of the grad and the prom, but clearly there are way too many photos here. There were enough photos for a full spread, and there were only a few other photos of the week, so I just thought I would. So here I am. These are what's left. So I have a photo of my website, my daughter who had wisdom teeth removed. My husband had a little accident. There was a deer in the backyard, and I had 100 patrons. I kind of passed that 100 patron mark over on Patreon. So those are all going to be in a half Becky Higgins design, a page protector. But today I'm going to just work on this one. On the grade 9 grad. So it'll kind of serve as its own little spread. So I decided to add this photo. I kind of forgot about this photo. It was left over from a mini album that I've been making, and it's just a photo of the party in the backyard afterwards. And in order for this layout to kind of look balanced, I'm not going to stick to a strict chronological. The whole spread is from the same day, so it doesn't really matter a timeline of the day and getting that accurate. You can also tell by what they're wearing, what exactly happened at what part of the day. I did try to keep the grad ceremony at the very top of the left-hand page, and then everything else is just the dance. So I'm just refamiliarizing myself with the cards that I have here, and I have two different stacks of cards. These are all of my mostly Cocoa Daisy cards that I got in a big haul. I just bought a whole bunch of cards only Cocoa Daisy kits, and so I decided to look through those. And now these are the cards that I have for the month of May and June for Paper Person, Cocoa Daisy, Ellie Studios, Allie Edwards, and Studio Calico. So I've got a lot of kits there together for May and June. So that's why there's so many cards. Now I am documenting a picture of frogs, and I knew I had some frogs in my little sticker sets here. So I'm just going through and trying to find the frogs that I think will look nice on this page. And I don't know exactly what I'm going to do with these stickers, but I know that I want to use some frog stickers. So I'm just having a look at all of my stickers just to make sure I'm not missing any really great frogs. But I found both of the great frogs, so I'll leave those out and put everything else back. Taking one last look at my stickers because I really love using these in my project life. Those are my Pipstick square stickers. And while I've got my stickers out, let's just have a look at these. These are all characters like doing things, and so I'm pretty sure I'm not going to want those. Yeah, but these are really cute. There's a set from Four Bears, which is my very favorite sticker company in the whole wide world. And there's also a set there from BFF Sticker Club, which is also one of my very favorite sticker clubs, manufacturers in the whole wide world. So I was going to put those two colorful cards so that you could see the edges of them and trim down the photos, but I decided that there was sort of a lot going on this page, and I don't really need extra color. There's a lot of color here already, so I will just use those cards on another day, those two rainbow cards. I'd like to focus on getting some of these cards from the kits from May and June used. But I was feeling like a red card behind this weather screenshot might work. Since there's so much red everywhere on the page, I thought it might be nice to bring some red into one of the cards. I found that yes, yeah, affirmation, affirmative, okay, that text card, and it's just perfect. So I love the shade of red, so I'm going to use that today as well. So at this point, I have my photos laid out in such a way that they feel relatively balanced. I am going to move them around. This is a tricky spread, so that's why this video is a little bit longer than usual. It's a tricky spread with all of these photos and I do have some journaling I want to include as well. So I've spread out my photos for now, and now I'm just looking for some cards to fill the spaces. And I definitely want to do some flippity flaps on this one. I just don't know where, and I feel like I'm going to need some relief. Like I'm going to have to cover up some of these photos. So that one that says best day ever, that came from my red stash, my red 3x4 stash. That one will cover one of the photos in a flippity flap. And then the frog pictures are really quite ugly, so I'm going to put those under a flap as well. And then there's 2 photos of the kids going to McDonald's. I really like this one. It says, a little something I loved about today, and I love the motif. I love the sun. So I'm going to try to use that. I'm leaving it out so that I can remember to use it. I'm just taking a bit of a slower look through these cards, looking for anything that the messaging is really appropriate, or anything with the colors or designs that I'm looking for. So one of the problems with having so many kits is that there is a lot to look through here to try to use up. I probably went a little overboard. I was just trying to sample everybody's kits and see what all the different companies have to offer. And I didn't really intend to have so many kits all at once. I picked out a couple there that either the sentiments or the color schemes worked for. And I don't know exactly where I'll put them yet, but I'm pretty sure that I'll want to put some journaling below the one of my daughter with her friend with a suit, because that's her longtime friend Leah that we want to make sure that we document. She's not really friends with her actively right now. Like they don't hang out together or anything, but they do still talk and they are friends. They're kind of like those timeless friends that they've been friends forever and know each other well. And so with this amount of photos, I am definitely going to need some flippity flaps. They are technically called photo flips by Simple Stories, by Snap, which is made by Simple Stories. But in order for me to have room for, first of all, I'm going to want some filler cards for your eye to rest. And I also want some space for titles and captions and journaling and that sort of thing. So I'm just pulling out some extra cards so that I have cards for the back sides. Whenever I'm using a flippity flap, you really need to have 3 cards. So or photos or whatever, because you have the one that goes in the pocket and then you have 2 sides of the flap as well that you have to account for. So I'm just adding cards every here and there. This Let's Go one, I thought I might cut out the phrase Let's Go and use it with that photo of them in the car, because that's when they're off about to leave for the prom. And I think that I'm all set now, except, hang on a second, these 2 photos look a little bit too close together there. They're too similar. So what ends up happening is if I move them like this, then that water is in the gap between them. It doesn't look so much like there's all these people lined up together. And I will do some journaling or titling or something in that gap on the water. Now, I was going to make these 2 go. So I'm going to start by putting the frog. So that's that frog sticker from the 4 Bears Sticker Club. Oh, he's so cute. I love him. Isn't he adorable? I'm going to put him on the front of that Allie Edwards. I think that's an Allie Edwards card. And my thought was that I would put these 2 3x4s in a 4x6, but that isn't going to work because it makes it seem like all 4 of these little pieces are part of one big story, and they're really not. Like I have a Leah story and I have a frog story, and they don't really go together. So I'm going to put these in 2 separate flippity flaps instead of one 4x6. I thought it might be a little bit busy. Like there's a lot of flaps on this page, and I thought there would be a lot of flaps. So I was trying to cut back on them by maybe combining. Oh, right. I was sharing my process with my patrons of how I edit and move around and choose my photos. So I am just reprinting these photos in Square, because as you can see, they kind of fill up a little bit too much of those cards when they're printed at 2x3, which is what they had been printed at. That's one of my standard sizes. So I'm cutting this down, and then I realized, wait a second, I printed it smaller, but now the whole photo is smaller. I meant to print it smaller but zoomed in so that you could see what it is that I want the photo to be of. So let's just do that all over again. There we go. Now you can see I wanted to take a picture of the giant tadpole and the giant frog, but neither of them looked very giant when they were so small compared to the big photo. So I'm just going to wait for that to print, and whew, due to the magic of YouTube, that one came out super fast. So there we go. Third time's a charm, and now I have a tadpole photo and I have a frog photo. And I'm putting the tadpole photo on that Cocoa Daisy card that has the cute little slugs all over it. I didn't have any photos of slugs, but I thought that slugs were pretty close to frogs. I'm going to put this other BFF Sticker Club frog sticker. It's like an illustrated, it's so cute. Little frog. And that looks pretty cute next to the real frog. So that'll flip up like that, and then you'll see the This Happened, which is an Ellie Edwards card with the frog photo and the frog sticker. And then you will also see under the flap the photo of the giant tadpole. And then I'm writing here just on the grid paper, that's kind of like the background of this card, at Jerry Lawrence Park we saw lots of huge frogs and giant tadpoles. Going to just do some outlining here to give the photo a little bit more presence. And then since I outlined one, I'll outline the other as well. And that one is done. Now, I don't normally start in the center of the second page like this, but I felt like I had an idea for the frog part, so I wanted to just do that first. I always do the easiest part, or the part that I have the most clear idea on, or sometimes I do the more complicated part if I think that I might forget it, like if I have an idea at the beginning and I just want to get it done before I forget the idea. So that's how I decide what to start on. But now I'm going to go back to my more normal order, which is usually I do the left page first and then the second page. So I have that gorgeous 3x4 photo, and I'm thinking that or not photo, but that card from Cocoa Daisy. And I'm thinking that gold thickers would look really, really great on that. So I picked out a couple, and I really, really love these. And I'm trying to put the title Grade 9 Grad on this, but I'm not going to be able to use those big letters. I just took out my mini album, which has the same title, so I thought that might give me a sense of how that size of letter would look. Now, there was something wrong with my thickers packaging. The band at the top, the branding band, was not attached properly, so the letters weren't sliding out very easily. So I'm just taking this beautiful watercolored picture of it's a card from Cocoa Daisy of a mason jar that's filled with hearts, and it's just so pretty for Grad. The G and 9 together looked weird. It looked like two G's, so I'm not going to do G9 Grad, and I thought maybe I'll just do Grad. And then I'm playing around with placement in the middle, placement at the bottom. So those look pretty good there. I still want to do grade 9, so I'm actually going to write it in cursive using my pencil. And it was too off center, so I'm just going to move the G over to the left a little bit. And I'm spelling out grade 9 and 9 the word, like N-I-N-E. And now I'm going to use this, which is my Zig. It's a mono twin pen. I forgot the name of it for a second there. And I'm just going over where I had penciled in my writing. And so I like how that looks. I don't have the greatest penmanship for cursive, but it's not too bad. I always pencil it out first because otherwise it would be awful. All of this stuff happened on the same day, so I'm just finding my roller date stamp. I'm gonna set it to June 23rd, 2022, and I'll use that a couple of times on this spread. Now for this photo, I don't really like how the stairs and the edge of the stage are showing, so I'm thinking I might want to cover those up with labels. Then I also thought I might want to kind of cut down the photo so that it doesn't include the stage anymore, and then mount it on a card. And that means I have to go looking for another card. So here we go, looking again. I want something that's going to have a little bit of color. That floral one looks really nice. And I also like this Happy Little Moments, but the Happy Little Moments is too big for the space that I have left after I trim off the stage. So what I've decided to do is trim the whole thing down, make it a little bit more narrow also, so that it can be matted on this. And I like how that looks. And that card is so beautiful. This is what I love about the Cocoa Daisy kits, is that the cards are just so gorgeous. You don't have to do much. That looks great just the way it is. So I'm not even going to add anything to that card. Now these two are going to go together in a 4x6 pocket, and they kind of work together as well. So I am, like they tell this, the journaling and the photo go together. I wanted to dress up this photo, but I didn't want to cover her skirt because that's the little bit of her dress poking out, because not much of it is showing, so I don't want to cover it up. And it is part of the story, is that she layered her clothing there. And then again, this Cocoa Daisy journaling card is just so beautiful, and it picks up on some of the other colors that are already on the page and in the photos. So I'm just writing, it was coldish and rainy when Sophie left for the bus on the morning of graduation. So too cold to wear just her graduation dress. So Sophie layered sweatpants and a sweater, and off she went. She changed at school, and by the grad ceremony looked amazing. And normally I underline all of my journaling on all of my pages, but what I did was, for this spread, for the entire spread, I experimented with not underline. See, I was about to underline it, and then I stopped myself because I'm just going to see how it looks not underlined. I used to never underline, but I've been going through a phase. It's been a several year long phase of underlining pretty much everything. So it's good to shake it up a little bit. So these two photos go together, and they go together in a flippity flappity kind of a way. So I'm going to be putting the photo, and then that's another Cocoa Daisy card. And I just love how the butterflies in that Cocoa Daisy card, it says spread your wings and fly, and these were taken in the guidance counselor's office, so I thought that sentiment is kind of appropriate for a guidance counselor's office. And then this piece of chipboard here also says being brave enough to bloom, and I thought that was really relevant for the guidance counselor's office too. My daughter spent a lot of time there because she had mono towards the end of the year and was off school for 6 weeks, and then when she did go back, she had to go part-time and spend most of her time in the guidance office. And also she and her friends used to hang out at guidance quite often. She had some friends with some mental health problems, and yeah, so they really got to know the guidance counselors at this school. And it's sort of like their little safe place in the school. I'm writing a caption here. It just says Guidance Office, Five Bridges Junior High School, JHS. And that one is done. I really love how the butterflies on that one picked up on the colors in the guidance office. And so now here's my next flippity flap. I'm going to put this little Ellie's Studio die cut piece. It says celebrate the day. I'm going to put that on the photo, add the roller date stamp for the notes from today card. That's also from Ellie's Studio, I believe. The journaling here says, although I didn't get a photo, Liv did Sophie's hair and makeup. Her nails were done at Princess Nails the night before. They spent most of the afternoon getting ready. Liv had finished her last exam, physics, that morning. So I'm going to refrain from outlining or underlining this journaling as well. It does have the little dots on the card already, so it looks pretty good like that. So now I just have to glue down. I'm just trimming off the little knobbies that come on those Ellie's Studio die cuts. They come on a perforated sheet, so I'm just taking the little knobbies off. And I will grab myself another flippity flap and stick these inside. And I just thought maybe I should embellish this a little bit. It just looked a little bit plain, especially on a graduation photo. So these are the same letter stickers that I used. By the way, the font is called Happy and they're thickers. And so those, I just grabbed the little asterisks and used them as little stars around the best day ever sentiment. And now I will figure out what I want to do on this. So I'm going to grab a bunch. These are word stickers that I had picked out for my mini album, my grade 9 grad mini album that I did. And these were all things that I picked out that had potential grad celebration type of sentiments on them, but they were way too bulky to use on that mini album. So I'm going to stick my little thicker tool in here. And the reason I'm doing that is that I find with these letter stickers in particular, when you take them off, it really changes the shape of them. And so I wanted to keep the shape intact. So that's how I am transferring those, and it works way, way better. Now, of course, most of this word gets lost in the dark dresses. And so I am taking my Pentel Milky Pop white pen, and I'm just outlining around the edges of these letters, and look at how they pop. What a change. I love this pen. If you don't have the Pentel Milky Pop, the Sakura Jelly Roll white pen works really well too. Look at that. Ah, I adore that card. That phrase looks so pretty on the backdrop of all of their dresses. So nice. And now I need to change my plan for the water here. I was going to put a big title on the water, but since I put a big title on the dresses and these two cards are right beside each other, that's not going to work. It's going to be too much competition, right? Like two phrases right beside each other. It's going to look repetitive, but in a bad way. So I'm going to try to find some non-text embellishments here, and I'm going to be very unsuccessful at finding them. I just can't find anything that I like enough. And if I had gone into some of my Ellie Edwards 12 by 12 kits, I bet I would have found something. Nope, not these. Definitely not. So I decided to try out these chipboard pieces that I have from all of the Ellie Edwards kits over the past couple of years. And this one, although it is text and it's text beside text, it's different. Because it's on the chipboard. It says loving this moment, and I like it. It looks good there. At first I wasn't sure if I loved it, but the more time goes by, the more I love it. And I am going to move these cards around so that those two are actually not going to be together anymore. So yeah, let's do that. It was too much of the same thing. So we're going to bring Jen and Sophie down here, and also that text, that really cool funky text card with the yellow and red. So now I'm going to do this top right-hand corner card, and I normally wouldn't pick this patterned card for the back. This is from, I think it's from Kelly Perky from the Paper Person kit. But because that's a different color of pinky red, that's different from what's already on the page. But because it's going to be under a flap, it's okay. And it really picks up on the purpley pinky balloons that are in the backdrop of the photo booth that they're in. So I think it works really, really well. Now, as I mentioned, I picked out this Let's Go card so that I could cut it down, like use it as an embellishment. And so I just trimmed around it, leaving a little bit of a border. And now I'm just going to trim it down a little bit more. And I wanted it to go in the middle, but it's just covering up too much of the girls, like it's encroaching on their faces and stuff. So I'll try just trimming it down. This is kind of like my last ditch effort to actually use this card. But let's just trim it down a little bit tighter into the Let's Go and see if, yeah, that fits quite a bit better. So there, perfect. I like that a lot. Now I wanted it to say, let's go to the prom. So all of my letter stickers that I have that I normally use for Project Life are too big to fit those three words on that little tiny triangular area. But I knew that I had some really tiny fonts in this basket of letter stickers. So I'm just pulling out anything that's tiny here. Pulling out some black because black and white is kind of fancy for a formal dance. Those have gold on them, so they kind of seem fancy. Those red ones also kind of looked good with Sophie's dress. But ultimately, I went with the Gramercy Road ones by Gossamer Blue. And so I'm spelling out to the prom with these little tiny tile letter stickers. They're so tiny. I'm overlapping them with one another because even though they're tiny, they're not going to fit if I don't overlap them. And I'm trimming some of them down so that I can overlap them even closer. Like so that I can really nudge the letters up close to one another and not have big gaps from the tile next door. I didn't have another lowercase e, so I'm just going to use an uppercase E here, and it's okay. I was afraid that they would pop off, and I really didn't want to bother with my glue. So out of laziness and because it's a pretty cool design, I'm going to just use my tiny attacher to stick those all on permanently. They're not going anywhere now. And then I will just position that so that it's right between the two girls in the front row of seats. It's actually the second and the third row of the car. And then I will just make these two look like they're just kind of casually on the back on that card, and then outlining it twice for, again, it kind of gives that doodly casual look. And I can't decide what I want to do around this. So I'm going to have a look at some of the embellishments that came in the Ellie Studio May kit. And I like that one. It says all smiles, so it's pretty relevant. I'll just glue that in place. And then what else do I want to do here? I just don't know. So I'm going to pull back all of these word phrase letter sticker sets that I had pulled out already for the mini album. And I already dipped into the once, but I really like that sparkle, and I think that would look nice over to the left-hand side of this card. So I'm just trying to figure out, is it going to fit? I can't tell. And I do want to keep the shape of it intact. I like how it kind of goes around. It's a little bit circular there. So I'm just attaching it to my thicker alignment tool, and then I will make it so that it's not covering up anything too important. As you can see, it kind of gets lost on the page there, like the legibility isn't great, but I'm going to outline it in black, and that will help with that a little bit. I'll just put some of these stars around just as decorations. So that looks okay the way it is, but I am going to outline it so that the word sparkle gets a little bit more emphasis. The white worked so well on the other one that I thought about using white here, but it's just not giving me enough definition. So I'm going to start by outlining the stars. And I'm just using my regular Sharpie pen here, just my regular journaling pen. And I'm just going to run it all the way around the outside edge of each of those stars. And I do like how that looks. And that gives me a bit of a sense of how the word will look when it's outlined. And so, of course, much of this you don't even see because the parts where it's already layered on top of black parts of the photo, it's not going to show, but it does a pretty good job of helping those letters to stand out. So there we go. I like that. So now what am I going to put on the back side of this? I don't even know. There was a card that said smiles, friends, food, and sunshine, and it's a 3x4 card, and that I'm going to put in there. I realized that I hadn't put a little tab on all of my flaps, so I'll put one there, and I'll also put one on this one. I'm just thinking about when I place the tabs, I'm thinking about what card is beside it, whether there's any other flippity flaps beside it or around it, and what that tab might be covering when it's in place. Those are the things I think about. So now I'm going to put a flap on this one. And the one that I picked says love this. And oops, I stapled it in place and forgot to put anything in the underside of it. But that's okay, because what I thought I would do is stick the dance tickets in there. And so that's what I'll just leave that space open, and I'll just stick the dance tickets in there when I find them, because she wasn't home when I was doing this project. So these are two photos. One is of the girls going into McDonald's, and then one of them at McDonald's. And it's a bit of a local tradition. Maybe it's I don't know. Tell me, do people do this where you live? It's a bit of a tradition here that graduates go to McDonald's in their full prom gear and order McDonald's and eat in. It's kind of like showing off. It's a little bit of a flexing, but it's also kind of like, we're all dressed up. We don't dress up very often. We're gonna go and be known. We're gonna let it be known that we're fancy today. So this is from the most amazing stamp set that I have in my whole collection. It is called Bon Appetit, and it is by Kelly Perky from several years ago. And the stamp I'm using says Bon Appetit because I thought it was funny to say Bon Appetit when you're going to McDonald's. And these stamps are very sticky, and so you do have to use a stamp platform when you use this. And even with the platform, I shouldn't have used the magnets. I should have just put it in the corner and stamped it. I never trust myself or the tool. Even though it works perfectly every time, I still never trust it. I'm like, that can't possibly work. and so I put the magnets in, and sometimes the magnets end up messing it up. I just use my hot off the press journaling template to write out some lines using my pencil, and I'll go back and erase them. I'm looking for my journaling pen and I can't find it anywhere. I put it in the wrong little cubby. Look at me. It took me a long time to find it, but there it is. And I use a Sharpie pen for my journaling most of the time. So this journaling says, the local tradition is for grads to go to McDonald's in their dresses between photos and prom. Ty's mom drove all the grads over for fries and McNuggets. I really love the photo of them at the McDonald's table because you can actually see out the window at the rest of the plaza in the background. And that is our main plaza. Like it's just at the entrance of our neighborhood. And it has our Sobeys, our liquor store, our dollar store, the gas station. There's a couple of restaurants up there, a bank, and like we do all of our business there. So it's nice to have a photo that includes the plaza because we never take pictures. It's not a very nice plaza, so it's not something that we would typically take pictures of. So I like that it's in the background of this photo. Now I decided to go ahead and do this photo, which will be a flippity flap, or so I think. And I thought it would be cool to put Leah's name in the blue letters. Those are Kelly Perky letter stickers. And then put Sophie's name in the red letter stickers, but I didn't have any, except then I remembered I do. They're just in a bigger format. So I went to my stash and these are a very old throwback of it's the same font. It's just that she used to sell them in 6x12 sheets, and now she sells them in these double-sided 4x6 sheets. So I'm going to spell out Leah, and then I'm going to spell out Sophie. And I didn't leave enough room for my ampersand. I had no idea what I would put between the two. I just knew I'd put the Sophie and Leah. So there we go. And now I need to think about what I'm going to put. And I thought, well, I know that I have some ampersands in wood veneer. So I just grabbed, these are all my icons, like geotags, ampersands, and at symbols. And I think there's a couple of question marks and quotes in there too. Just any kind of typewriter-y things. Plus geotags. So I'm going to shift up the letters that spell out Leah, and I'm going to shift down the letters that spell out Sophie and over a little bit. There we go. And then there's room for the ampersand there. These letters are pretty forgiving. You can move them around. That's one of the things I love about them. These are one of my favorite letter stickers of all time. I decided to go for the slightly fancier ampersand because it is prom after all. Grade 9 prom. It's like, I guess maybe you'd call it junior prom. We don't call it that though. But yeah, maybe junior prom is something different. I don't know. American movies, when they talk about proms and senior proms, I never know what that means. Maybe somebody can tell me in the comments, what is a junior prom and a senior prom? It seems like, do people go to prom all of the years or just in your last year? So the way it works with grade 9, some schools don't even have a prom in grade 9 here. I'm just handwriting friends since grade primary. And I did it in cursive. So the way it works here is in grade 9, you have they call it a grad dance, actually. We're kind of calling it a prom, but they call it a grad dance. And the girls are supposed to all wear the shorter version of the fancy dresses, although this year a lot of them wore the full length dresses. You're supposed, like, who am I to say what people are supposed to do? I don't like those kinds of rules, but I guess the tradition was that you would reserve the long dresses for your real prom, like for graduating from grade 12. And so the dance that is hosted, like the formal dance at the end of the year for your grade 9 prom, ends up being for the whole school. The whole entire school goes to it, but the grade 9s get special treatment, like they get a special room to hang out in with food and beverages and decorations and stuff. But in your grade 12 prom, only the grade 12s go to that. So here is, sorry that I forgot to zoom out, but here's that card that says Friends and Smiles, and I'm putting that on the back side of the Let's Go card, the 4x6 that had nothing behind it, and I'm going to stick the tickets. So it's going to be tickets and then that card as well. Sorry, I'm pretty sure I'm going to move because this is not very good. You can't see anything here. Sorry about that. I'm just trying to figure out how I'm going to do this. Originally, I was set up to do a flippity flap here, but I decided that I didn't actually need one. There's not enough to do here. So what I decided to do is I found this. It says, ooh, this was by far the absolute most fun I've had in a long time. And that is almost word for word what Sophie told me about that night. And so I thought I absolutely have to use this card, but it's hard to use it. So what I decided to do was to cut out a pinked circle and cut out the sentiment from this card and use it as an embellishment on the 4x6. So I'm just taking that's from Waffle Flower, I think, or no, Pink and Main. And so I'm just going to run that through my Big Shot. There we go. And it looks like it's from a comic book or something. I love how it looks like it would say "pow" or something, but and the rest of the card is kind of drab compared to that. So I just kind of glanced over at my Project Life stash and this card just was staring at me. So it has some green in it and it has some pink and some of that kind of peachy orangey color that shows up on this page. So I decided to put that there, and then I'll mount this on that, and then I'll cut that off. And then it's just looking a little bit too floaty. So I'm going to try to anchor the photo by outlining it, still feeling a little bit too floaty. So I had this card, which was in one of those kits from May or June. I'm going to trim the whole thing down on all four sides and mat it on this. Now this is a very different green than the green that sentiment is on, but it's okay because it's actually almost exactly the green that's in the grass in the photo, because it's taken at nighttime with lights shining on it, so it looks like this really beautiful mossy green. So that's what I'm doing there. And now I'm going to have to move some things around because I have some flippity flaps that are right beside each other. And I can't remember if I did that on screen or off screen. I'm just kind of setting it all up so that it looks okay for taking photos. And now is a great time for me to say thank you to all my Patreon supporters. And they are the folks who make this channel keep on happening. So big thanks to them. And thanks to you as well for watching all this way to the end. So here are the photos of this one. We have the overall spread. And as you can see, I did have to move some of them around. These photos are of the kind of pages, like the cards before I put them in the album. So you can still see the flaps on the flippity flaps. So I decided to put the Leah photo and the Leah card side by side instead of on top of one another with a flippity flap, because I liked how the title turned out so much. I wanted it to be seen. So that's it for this spread. I hope that you enjoyed watching this spread come together. If you have any questions or comments, please leave me a comment below. I love hearing from you. And if you haven't subscribed already, please do subscribe so that you don't miss any of my pages. 12 by 12 and Project Life are what you will see most of from me. Take care and have a really great scrappy week.